Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for being on the Healthy Widow, Healthy Woman podcast. And I'm Carolyn Moor, your host. And today we have the Golden Bachelorette, Joan Vassos, with us. Welcome, Joan.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel so honored to be here, not because I'm a winner, but because I listen to your podcast. So I can't believe I'm actually on it now.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Well, then you really understand the how women's health focused Modern Widows Club and the movement for widow care is. We talked just a little bit before this, we really talked about how relationship health, the potential of repartnering, that the emotional, really sort of challenges that put you through. And you did it so publicly as the first Golden Bachelorette. And I was telling you, it's like you didn't know us, but we knew you. And we were so proud to have you represent an emotionally intelligent woman who saw the world differently. And we saw you also building community, which we knew was so critical. And were you like in the third year of widowhood when you started?
Was in the second year of widowhood. My husband passed away in 2021. I went on the show like later in 2023, so 2.5 years into it.
That's soon. That's
It was, and I realized that once I was already there. I wanted it so badly. I wanted to have another partner. I didn't want like my life to look like I was going to be alone forever. So I started out probably too early. But I learned so much on that show that when I actually became the Golden Bachelorette, I was ready.
Yes, yes. So when you stepped back after, I think it was like the third show, right?
Yeah.
You stepped back for family, which is real world
Stuff.
stuff.
Yeah, it happens.
Priority shift, right? So you're raising children with John. You were married 32 years?
32 years, yeah, with 4 kids. And at that point, when he passed away, we also had a son-in-law had joined us, and we had a grandson. So he got to meet one of his grandchildren. Yeah, which was
Oh,
wonderful.
wow.
Yeah,
Yes.
lucky.
So a full life lived, but still I always say no one wants to become widowed and no one wants to stay in grief. And here at Modern Widows Club, we have the saying, widowed women are women of fulfilled marriage vows, promise made, promise kept, promise honored.
Yeah,
And
so
what
true.
you're doing is honoring this beautiful love that John gave to all of you, right? And
Hmm.
continuing on that legacy. And so your story so publicly, do you feel, is that which part of what you were feeling on the show? Is that honor?
Yeah, weirdly, like I went on the show thinking I need to like not talk about John a lot, and that I was there to meet other men, and that might be off-putting to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I found myself talking about him all the time. I couldn't help myself, and I really like one of my biggest fears. And I don't know if you hear about this from other widowed women. You speak to so many more than I ever do. Um, that one of my biggest fears is that like his memory is going to fade, and I'm afraid it's going to fade with me just because time and more things take over my brain, with my family, with our friends, and just from the world in general. So putting him out in the world made me feel so good. Even though I knew maybe I shouldn't be doing this because it might be off-putting to the men, it just felt good to me. It just made me feel good. And it also relieved me a little bit of the guilt that I felt. John was so kind to me in his last days and kind of pulled me aside and said, I want you to move on. I want you to meet somebody else. You've
Mm-hmm.
been a wonderful wife. We've had a great life together. I don't want this to be your end. And I was like, nope, I'm not listening to this. You're not dying. I'm not having this conversation with you. And it replayed in my head over the many months and years that he said that to me. And that was such a gift because it relieved me of some of the guilt that I would have felt. And maybe I wouldn't have been able to move on without him having said that to me. So when I was on the show, I remember that conversation. I had such joy talking about him and telling people about him and bringing, his memory back up to the forefront for anybody watching. And maybe they learned a little bit about, what a great life I had and what a great husband I had.
Mhm.
I wanted, it felt good to me to bring him up. So I just did. And I do get some criticism. You know how social media is. You get a lot of criticism, and people said, oh, she's not over John. She talked about him way too much. I don't think I'll ever be over John. Okay. That's a fact. I have a big heart, and I can have somebody else in there too.
That's right. That's right. And the honoring is, I believe, the tail end of grief. Because if honoring someone is not witnessed, and you did it so publicly and so authentically, I am going to talk about him with such confidence that you intuitively knew that.
Yeah.
26 years ago when I became widowed, this was foreign. People were very harsh about move on. In fact, even all these years later, with what I do at Modern Widows Club, a lot of people think that I'm stuck, reaching back to support widows. And so there is this really bizarre, like what I call myths versus realities in culture of what widows should be doing.
Hmm.
And you were busting those myths like every episode.
Thank you. I didn't know I was doing it. I was just being me and doing like the best I could. But thank you for saying that. I'm glad that, I never wanted my journey just to be about me. I wanted it to be about, people growing old, widows, people that were divorced, people trying to find love later in life. I wanted it to be about everybody. I wanted it to like inspire people. Like, I'm making a fool of myself and embarrassing my kids on TV. Like, go out and do something big and make your life better.
Right. And there were a lot of ladies that wanted to apply for, including me. Like people were like applying. I'm
Should
like, no
have.
way, no way am I doing that.
No. No.
And, and I'm extremely actually private about my
Oh, is that
relationship.
right?
So I'm like, way to take one for the team.
Well, it's really was out of my comfort zone, to be perfectly honest. I grew up like a computer nerd. That's what I majored in college. I'm not a
Mm,
super outgoing person. My personality weirdly has changed now completely in my 60s because now that I'm out there, it doesn't frighten me anymore. But I was scared going. And I'll tell you what motivated me. I had 2 glasses of wine and I came home and I saw the ad on TV that they were taking applications for this golden bachelor. And I was like, oh, I'll fill that out because I had 2 glasses of wine, which is a lot for me. I'm like a one glass girl. So I filled it out, and then all of a sudden they were calling me, and the train had left the station, and I just kept writing it, and somehow there were 30,000 applicants. Somehow I freaking made it,
mm.
and then I was like, "What have I done?" Like, I'm not sure this is me. And you can see on the Golden Bachelor, I was pretty shy. I kind of stayed in the background a lot of the time until I was forced out front when we had the talent show, and then I couldn't hide anymore.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's like, but I do know what it's like to be on the Oprah show and be
I
walking
know.
around and people recognizing you for your story for years. And so I know that hesitation to go like, I just sort of wanted to be a represent, that you can find love again later in life. And these are what it will look like. So I want to thank you for that, but I really do respect, and I think that we both have, and I should have researched this, but we both have an interest in interior design?
Yeah,
It
I
is
have a degree in interior. I went and got it when I was in my 50s.
so do I. No, I got it. I actually left nursing to become a designer in my late 20s, and that's where I met my husband. He was an architect. Yeah.
I love that. So you had kind of matching careers. I was a computer programmer. I was a big nerd, big math, computer nerd. And then I stopped for many, many years to raise my kids. Couldn't really go back to that because the world of computers had changed so immensely. It changes month to month. I mean, this would have been many, many years. So I went back to school and I got my interior design degree. And actually just did the HGTV show renovating the Bachelor Mansion as an
I
interior
saw
designer.
that.
It was so
What a
fun.
perfect blend. I mean, I actually gave up my 25-year interior design career in residential design in 2019 to do Modern Widows Club, the movement for widow care full time. And I loved my career. So I'm
Yeah,
so
I
happy
love
to
it.
hear that you're going back into that passion.
Yeah, it was so fun. Like it fulfills like that creative need in
Hmm.
me. I haven't done it in a while, so I went on the show and then I came off and I had lots to do. In the meantime, I went and got a job. I was offered a job at the school that my sons had gone to. It's a little private school in Maryland, and I went back there and I was working at in alumni relations and fundraising. And so I did that for a bunch of time, and then the Golden Bachelorette thing took off, and I haven't been back. You said so. I've been back to either one of those careers. I didn't go back to and I haven't really been back to your interior design, but that really is where I'd like to end up again. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I still do it. We need to talk because I would love, there's a lot about, people would say, "Oh, Carolyn, you went from designing interior spaces to people to designing interior spaces."
I
And
love
this,
that.
right? So
How cute.
from taking women from grief to growth. And that's really what you did on the Golden Bachelorette. We saw you literally go through this grief to growth and what that looks like in real time and real moments of 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 uh, change. You know,
Hmm.
clear change where you could almost see your brain going, "This is what's happening." So I love that.
It's
Thank you.
funny how you say that because it truly did like happen in real time that you saw on TV. I would go home after having a day with the men or having a date or whatever, and I'd go back to my hotel room. We had really long days. It'd be sometimes 11 and 12 o'clock midnight. I'd still have to meet with my producer for a little bit, and then I would like process it all. And I'd wake up in the morning and um, fortunately they had a therapist on set and you could talk to her there's two of them anytime you wanted to, and I had really good conversations with her. So I truly processed things really quickly in like an 8 week period. I went from thinking I was ready to halfway through the season or 3 weeks into the season saying, "Oh, I can't do this," to getting to the end of the season and finding love and figuring out how to navigate the guilt and all the things that you do when you're falling in love. It was crazy, and it happened in 8 weeks, and you saw it on TV.
And facing those fears, like we build a lot of real resilient science into our programs, at our nonprofit, and a big one, the 10 key components of building resilience is facing fear and having optimism. And honestly, I will need to send you these because you were exhibiting these 10 key components every moment of the show. And I was able to recognize them, but I was like, I wonder if she knows. Like she's
Mm-mm.
still fairly new in widowhood, and
Yeah.
I want her to know, like she is
I'd love to see those.
well,
Thank you. I'm glad I did it right. Whew.
not because I know that you get a lot of negativity on social media.
Yeah,
Um,
everybody does.
and and you know what? I also want to affirm you there because Modern Widows Club, in what we do in elevating voices for widows, we block 5,000 predators a year.
Yeah,
So
you're
I
smart.
think any women who are expanding the perception of what women should be or need to be,
Hmm.
are always going to be that. And I'm a big fan
Hmm.
of Clarissa Pinkola Estes, and I don't know if you know who she is.
Hmm.
She's an author. She wrote the book Women Who Run with Wolves, and she tells these ancient stories about women. It's called the wise woman archetype. You are exhibiting this, and this is one of her quotes. May your voice be heard like a volcano from afar.
That's beautiful. And that, mm,
And I think
like you
that's,
roar.
yes, that is what you did. So I have so many wonderful things to ask you. I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Esther Perel. She's a relationship expert from New York City. She's done probably one of the most popular TED Talks. She talks about there's two reasons why people at a core belief go into relationships, or I'm sorry, have fears about relationships. The one is I don't want to be alone, or I don't want to lose my identity. So people go into relationships with these two core fears and they're looking for someone else who affirms that. What would you say you are?
I think I'm both. God, can I be both?
Yes, you can be both. See, this is what
Okay.
we're
Whew.
saying. Yes, because I've always felt like I was both too.
Yeah, I was like, I can't pick one of those. I'm all of those. I mean, particularly so I know when John passed away, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I still feel a little this way, even though I have a person. The person that I was with, I've been with for 32 years. We have kids together. That's a completely different relationship than I'll ever have with another person in this world. So that's a different relationship. He made me feel so safe. He
Mm.
made me feel loved every single day. And I still crave that feeling, to be honest. Um, and I also hated not being a couple anymore. I missed my coupled friends. I missed the couple events. I missed planning things with couples. Like we were getting to the point in our lives where our kids were all graduated from college. We had one left when John was diagnosed. He graduated, and we were ready to do those couple things, like get a place in Florida and go on awesome trips to Europe for a month and go to the Olympics and like all those things and like take all of our grandkids to Disney World. And we were ready to do all these things. And all of a sudden I was no longer a couple and I had nobody to do it with. And I felt like my future was like a black hole. Like I couldn't think of anything. Like I lived just day to day. And that was the result of not being part of the couple world anymore. Because when you're not a couple, the couple world kind of like doesn't embrace you anymore. You are now out on single island with a bunch of other singles who I don't know because I didn't have single friends. I had couple of friends. I
Mhm.
also have the fear of losing my identity. I really do. I am like a really independent person. I am very set in where I want to be in my life. I want to spend a lot of time with my grandkids. I want to spend a lot of time with my kids. I still think that I could have a career. I love doing all this stuff that Bachelor has brought me. I get to do appearances. I get to do podcast. I mean, I love doing this stuff, and I don't want to lose all this by having a husband that wants me like around and taking care or changing my life to fit into his. So I have both those things. I want the partner, but I also completely want my autonomy.
Yes. And this is a shifting of priorities. I think that naturally comes with aging, right? But I think it's just a never-ending cycle for women transitioning
It's true.
because you may be single, you may stay single, you may get married, you may get divorced, you may become widowed. 70% of married women become widowed. So the transition is going to actually happen from, did you know that number?
But like it makes sense now because I know that women have a longer life expectancy. I just think that, I'm thinking widow, like when my mom lost my father, he was 88. They were both 88 years old. I didn't, I didn't think that was unusual. Like I guess she's a widow, but I mean, she just was an older woman who lost her husband. Widow sounds young to me, so 70% sounded young. I think we just maybe lost our video. Are you doing okay?
I heard it kept it. I heard it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. So I feel like when you say widow, it feels young to me instead of like all those older people. So it makes sense, right? But I think of widow as a younger maybe thing for some weird reason.
Yeah. Well, the average age out of the 11 million widows in the United States, the average age is 59.
That's so sad. That's a terrible statistic.
It's shocking, but it's the
Yeah.
like I was widowed at 37, so I was only 1% of the female population is widowed at age 40. By 85, 73% of all women living are widowed.
Yeah.
So
Makes more
we're talking
sense, but
about it sort of starts around your 40s and it goes
keeps
until
going.
we live longer. These were statistics I didn't know, and it's a big part of what
No.
we do is really educate all women or all people because these are real statistical numbers of our U.S. Census
Yeah,
Bureau.
it
So
truly
you
is.
were representing that sort of what we saw as the average, not young.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I did get a lot of messages, DMs and stuff from people after I was on the show talking that they were like my age and some even younger, like you were, that this like watching somebody who was a widow was very different than any other love show they've ever watched. So it was good. I mean, I think that like we trailblazed that one a little bit. It's just a different story. I mean, divorced and alone is still alone. Widowed and alone is maybe a little more alone because you don't have anybody I was thinking about my kids so much, and
Mhm.
that they had lost their father. So when you're divorced, you're not the only parent, so you don't have to concentrate quite as much as on your kids. They don't have to make them as much of a priority. But I mean, alone is alone. So on that show, I felt like
Mhm.
there were a lot of people that like related to my story.
Yeah, I believe it. We have one of our ambassadors, Tara, her husband was divorced. And so they taught me a lot about John and how he responded to Tara. I mean, he went to the cemetery to ask her late husband's at gravesite, I want you to know that I'm going to be asking Tara for her hand in marriage, and I want you to know that I will always honor you. Such an amazing, and he was the one that came up with this concept, and you'll probably love it. It's called a spiritual threesome.
So cute. I love him. He's
Because
adorable.
Sean will always be a part of you and Chalk.
Yeah,
Always.
it just is. It's just a fact of life. And Chuck was a really good kind of match for me in for a lot of reasons, other than I thought he was super cute and he's a really kind, like this kind Midwest values. But he had lost a fiance. She had died of a brain
Oh,
tumor. So he lost a person that he loved. Like he wasn't married to her. He was divorced from his first wife, but he understood it. It wasn't totally foreign to him.
thank you for sharing that because that is important because it is very different. There is something when you bury someone, when you are at this really final, I have to accept this reality that I had nothing, no control over, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So let's talk about intimacy. A big part of uh, what we talk about, at MWC is no matter what age you are, it seems that the health impact is a lot of younger women go into premenopause or they go into menopause because of the impact of the anxiety and the stress. And then how do you regain that, right? I mean, thank goodness for HRT and
Yeah.
for modern medicine, but
Hmm.
it's more than that. It's more than just the physical part. It is also the emotional part. A new person. It was different when I was with someone else and rediscovering a new person and really leaning into that vulnerable place of what intimacy is. How have you found that to be with Chalk?
Yeah, you're so right. Like when you think intimacy, like you think the physical part of it, but like so much more, I think particularly for women, maybe not as much for men, is the like emotional intimacy. And that's I think a harder, door to break down, honestly. That like you're having the physical intimacy, but like to let somebody in at like that super deep level, like is still a struggle for me today. And I think it may be part of that um that need for autonomy, and to make yourself super vulnerable is hard because you might lose some of that autonomy, or people will know too much about you that you needed to keep in. So that is still evolving, to be honest. Chalk and I have been together, it'll be 2 years in August. And a lot of that was dating on TV. So we got engaged in August, and then you start doing these things called happy couple visits. So for the 4 months where you can't actually be together, they let you be together. So they
I
take you
see.
to these homes in LA. You go in disguises. You're not allowed to leave the home, not allowed to be on your phones. You can't do anything, and you get to really get to know each other. And we had 5 of those in that 4 month period. So we kind of evolved, but it's I think it's still an evolution, and especially since we don't live together and he lives in Kansas, we see each other in like every 2 or 3 weeks. We're a little like more on dating. We're like engaged people that are still dating. We haven't even planned a wedding yet. I have kids still getting married. I have one getting married this summer, one got married last summer. I have 2 grandkids on the way. Like our lives are super full. He has a business that he runs in Kansas. So we have these other things in life that get in way of us really being together full time, and maybe developing that, taking it to the next level of intimacy. So, we certainly have great intimacy. I will tell you, it's everything is good, but I think I'm the one that still keeps walls up a little bit. Um, it took me a lot of years to have the relationship that I had with John. It didn't develop overnight. It didn't develop in 2 years. It developed in 32 years. This is an evolution for me.
Right. And you're just a different person because you're in a different
Yeah.
decade, sort of an autumn, time of a
Yes.
season of your life. You have
Hmm.
so much to share and so much to learn about one another. I know one of the
Yeah.
things you probably are discovering is how fascinating it is to see, meet friends and hear stories of chocolate from the past, and all that has to get, it forms this bond,
Yeah. Yeah, you
right?
have this
And that takes
huge
time.
history that was created completely separately, and you're bringing 60 some years of like living into your relationship. Yeah, I mean, we discover things about each other all the time, all the time. In fact, I didn't even know. I talked to him this morning, and he's like, "Yeah, I was up turkey hunting." I'm like, "You turkey hunt?" He's like, "Yeah, I went to the farm with my friend Theo, and we turkey hunted this morning." I'm like, "That is hilarious. I didn't even know people did that
I
all the
didn't.
time." He's telling me something weird.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's what guys do. I mean, I
boys,
grew up in
boys will be
Arkansas,
boys.
so like, right? Like, of course, can't they do that in Kansas? It's, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
what you
God.
do.
Um, Yasha Perel, again, the relationship expert, she talks about this ebb and flow and how it actually is healthy to be separated, but then kind of seeing your person and admiring them from a distance. And then when you come back together, it it's like a magnet with these bonds. So I think what you're doing is very healthy, and it actually is backed by research.
I I'm so glad you're saying that because I get so much criticism online. Like those are the DMs I get the most. They either talk about like I have too much Botox or something, or they talk about, oh, Chalk and Joan aren't real because they don't see each other that much. I love being away and love coming back together. Like when I pick him up at the airport when he comes to Maryland, I'm like so happy to see him standing there with his little suitcase, like ready to see me. It gives me such joy. I don't think people get how, like at this age when we both have like really full lives,
Hmm.
that being away is okay and then coming back together is so good.
It is that it goes back to this. What is your biggest fear? Being alone or losing your identity? You both
Yeah,
get an equal dose
we get to have both.
of affirmation of that. I'm not alone and I get to keep my identity. And I think that this is where a lot of women, I mean, great divorce is huge. I mean, widowhood is happening
Yeah.
really after late 50s, and we do need more women like us talking about what that really looks like. What does that transition look like? So when you're apart from each other and you come back, that is literally what Esther Perel says is extremely healthy. And you're
I'm
admiring.
literally going to quote her from now on online. I'm going to be like, go check out Esther. Can you send me her name, please? So I have it right.
Absolutely.
Please, thank you. I'm like, I need to tell them about her because, like, finally somebody is recognizing that this is an okay arrangement. Like, it's working great for us. And, you know, I'm sure one day we're going to end up being married and we're going to end up living together. But right now, with busy lives and, the way, where we are in our relationship, this just works great. Why change it? We're so happy.
Exactly. And having to defend that, being in such a public,
Yeah.
romantic relationship and people recognizing who you are, that can break some people apart. So I'm happy to be a part of the team that
Thank
affirms you.
you.
This is healthy and
I
bring
should
in.
really read a lot more. I need to do more
No, I
research.
mean, honestly, I didn't, know until someone shared with me, and I spend a large amount of time researching just women's transitions because I think that widowed women have a lot to offer. I do think that
Hmm.
more widowed women need platforms to share, and we're seeing that happen with Katie Couric and Chanel Jones and you and so many women, Kelly Rizzo and Amanda
I know. I just
Cleason.
interviewed Kelly Rizzo last
Oh,
two
you
weeks
did.
ago. I
So
did. I was on
uh,
iHeartRadio, and
Bob died in
she's amazing.
Orlando. That's where I
Oh,
live.
I
So
didn't know
this
that.
was
Yeah.
big news. And again, we were secretly supporting her. We get back to this conversation about how important community support is to reduce
Hmm.
isolation and loneliness and overwhelm, which is what our research shows that women are challenged with. is critically important. Grievers say social support and actually pets are extremely helpful. So I don't know if you and Chalk have pets to like add to the
I
mix.
have a dog. Yeah, I have a dog. Yeah. Yeah, that's always there. And he loves her. It's so cute. Yeah. He,
Right.
he walks in the door and she's so excited to see him.
Wonderful. So those are the steps. One of the things that we discovered in our research is it takes somewhere between there was there's a very well-known sociologist named Helena Lapata. She was from Loyola University in Chicago. She wrote a book in 1996 called Current Widowhood: Myths and Realities. And in her book, she had this brand new concept about widowhood that was not about focusing on the grief part for widows. It was about rebuilding their new identity. And we, as an organization, have continued her work. You don't even know about her work, but you're an example of her work. And so one of the things that we studied is about 5 to 7 years that it takes women to feel confident about this new identity that they built. You have been on the fast track.
I'm a work in progress, to be honest, but I
Yes,
have been on the fast track. You're right.
you
But
have.
I still don't feel completely comfortable in it at all. And
No.
I'm at year 5, so I feel relieved that I have 2 more years to get there.
Yeah, it's well, yeah, and that is when you have support. You had family support. You've had the wonderful, even therapists on in this experience. I talk about these healing cycles, and in year 5 is all about giving it back. It's all about sort of leading conversations. And when I looked at my book today, because the first year is all about breathing. I mean, you have to relearn how to breathe through everything in life. The second is really starting to stand up and see the world differently. The third is taking steps, which is when you started doing
Yeah.
what you're doing. And actually, year 4 is doing the work. And you were doing the work.
Mm,
You were in a new relationship and you were doing the work and
hmm.
then giving. 6 is balance and 7 is restoration. So you're
Okay.
there. You're there. So yeah.
I'm getting there. Yeah. I feel like the work when it's like so public, um, like the behind the scenes is really the important stuff. So you look good out in public, so you can represent like you need to. And I have some bad days. And then I also have some great days. So, but like you said, I have great support. I never saw a therapist or joined a grief group after John passed away. It was during COVID. So like there really, you didn't have a lot of access to it. And plus people were losing loved ones at such a huge rate. Like, they're like, I couldn't find a widow group for somebody my age with females in it. Like the group that I was looking for, I don't even know if it existed. Everybody was too busy, with loss. So I kind of like went through this on my own and then sought the help when I was on The Bachelor because I needed it, just to do the show. And then I haven't had a therapist since then, but I have a community now. So I
Yeah.
have the women that I met on the Golden Bachelor, and I have other women. And even though they're like my Instagram friends, and I call them my fake friends, but I really like them because I have a group of women who are widows. I have some that are widows, and we have conversations every once in a while. I also have women that are just older, so they might still be married, but they also understand like aging because that's like a whole nother element. We're not just widows. I'm an older widow, so like I'm in my 60s, and like how does you know like I talked about when I left Golden Bachelor feeling invisible. And I feel like as you get older, you become invisible. And like I want to address that too. There's like all these things that have to do with aging, and then all those things that have to do with being a widow. It's just like a weird place to be, like a 63-year-old widow who's getting old and juggling family and juggling a new relationship. Like I love now that I have a community to talk to. That
Yeah.
it's super important to me.
Well, because then the voice from the volcano becomes bigger.
Yeah, I love that. We got to keep
Right.
that volcano thing going. That's really good.
Well, one of the things that we have at Modern Widows Club is a relationship building slash dating actual virtual community. And of course, that would not have interested you at all until now. But there
Yeah.
are a lot of women who want to be in a community where women are specifically talking about this. Because you know what? Dating and repartnering doesn't just impact your relationship with that partner. It's your kids, it's your friends, it's your neighbors, it's your
Uh,
kids.
yeah.
Every relationship.
So
changes and
true.
has to be tweaked and rebuilt and new different conversations. And we do that in Modern Widows Live in a Community. And two of the ladies that facilitate that have been in our organization for over a decade. One's actually a rabbi. And it's beautiful how they get together with our ladies and they, they go through the dating apps and they talk about verifying someone's identity.
So true. I mean, it's dangerous out there. I know. I feel like you really kind of said something that like kind of struck me a little bit when you say like you're introducing them to your families and all that. And obviously that's a big deal. I don't think people recognize what a big deal it is introducing someone to the people who had known you in your previous relationship as a couple. So the couples that you were friends with now introducing a new, person into that couple is really awkward and uncomfortable and I think really difficult.
Yeah, it is because you're bracing for everyone's response and you cannot predict what the response is going to be.
Yeah. 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 And it's,
You can't
you want them to
really
like them
go
so badly because you want them.
right. There's just this sometimes blatant judgment, sometimes hidden
Hmm.
judgment that is
Hmm.
that is
Yeah.
very much present. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Truly is.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you have a community. I am so glad that we got to finally connect and you are on our
Me
Healthy Widow,
too.
Healthy Woman podcast because this is what we're really about. We have multiple different pillars of health that we talk about, and you fit perfectly in the relational health, but also emotional, mental health, physical health, spiritual health, financial health.
Thank you.
All really, you cannot just work on one area. They're all
No.
happening all at the same time. Recreational health, which you're traveling and going back and forth, and
Yeah.
ultimately purpose and meaning, right? And you
Yeah. That's the
feel,
ultimate goal, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so flattered that you asked me to be on this. I was, I listened to yours and actually listened to one this morning just to kind of prepare me. And I thought, oh gosh, I hope I'm worthy of this. I hope that I am, because I listen to the people that you talk to and they're so strong and so accomplished and have figured things out. And I felt like, have I gotten to the point that they're at yet? I'm not sure if I am. So you've been very affirming and like you validated all these things that kind of worry me. Like, why don't I live with
Mm,
Chuck yet? Well, it's okay. You don't have to live with Chuck
yeah.
yet. And like just all of those things, you've been very affirming. You've done your research and I appreciate it. I feel like just I had a free therapy session here. Thank you.
Well, I guess once a mentor, always a mentor.
Yeah,
So,
you can't help yourself.
so I have to ask, since Shock is from Kansas, I need to know which baseball team he has alliance to. Does he like a
You
baseball
know, it's
team?
so funny. He doesn't. You know, it's the weirdest thing. So in my life, all men love sports. My two sons played college sports. One played football in college. One played lacrosse. My husband, my late husband, was a huge like. I mean, I never got hold of the remote control in our house. There was always some game on: football, baseball, basketball, hockey, something on. He was watching golf, whatever. Chalk is not a big sports lover. I get control of the remote, and he doesn't really care about a football team. Like I'm a huge Commanders fan. I root for the Nationals. I mean, I root for the Wizards. I root for all the Washington teams. He couldn't care less.
Oh
Doesn't
my
care
God.
about any of them. Yeah,
And
I know. It's
isn't
such a he's
that
such a
fun?
like an anomaly to me.
Well, it also is affirming I'm a different woman now, right? Like before, I'm like, fine, sports is on all the time. Now you're like, oh, there's other things to do.
Yeah, wow. I don't have to have like a baseball game I don't care about. He loved the Texas Rangers. I'm like, we don't even live in Texas. Why are we watching this? He loved them. So I was always watching weird games that I didn't really care about.
I love it, right? I mean, you're there. It's part of, the experience of being a couple and you want to
Yep.
support one another, right? Now
Hmm.
you get
Yeah.
to support in a different way. Well, good
Now we
for
don't
Chuck.
have to watch this. I know, it's so funny.
But
He's such
sports
an anomaly.
dominate so many men's lives. And you know what? We kind of want them, we want to do these travels and we,
Hmm.
again, priorities shift when you get
Sure
older.
do. And now I don't have to like factor in Sunday games if I want to go to brunch.
There you go. I
It's
love
great.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Joan, for coming on Healthy
Thank you for
Widow,
having
Healthy
me.
Woman. We'll leave some of the information on where people can reach out to you in the show notes, but I think this is just the beginning of something wonderful, and I want you to
I
be
think
my
so too.
friend.
Thank you.
And
I think it's here. We're done. We're friends.
I think you're going to get lots of praise from our
Thank
community
you.
for your
Oh,
bravery, for your courage, for your vulnerability, and really your being so authentic during the process and representing so many of what so many of us think but don't get the opportunity to say. So thank you so
yeah.
much.
Well, I'm humbled. Thank you so much. And I look forward to continue our conversations. If we, if you ever want, just reach out. And I'm going to waiting for your text or email with that person's name so I can tell all my haters I'm allowed to not live with chalk yet.
That's right. He's going to love it. All right. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Sean.
Thank you. Bye bye.